We are on the heels of the 2026 NFL Draft, where some of our favorite college football stars will be entering their next chapter. I'll highlight a few of them and what I think their futures entail. Also, spring practice, it's in full swing. There's a few quarterback battles in the Southeastern Conference in particular that may not be settled before the fall. That quarterback battle down there in Tuscaloosa is one that really piques my interest. And there's a lot riding on this, I think, for Kalen DeBoer and his coaching staff. Can they help bring their team to another playoff berth? Some major ramifications could occur based on what happens in this quarterback battle. So all that, plus some more early 2026 thoughts here on this edition of College Football Y'all here on all of your podcasting platforms. I'm Brandon Taylor, and I'm ready to kick this thing off. It's been a while, but I'm ready to get back into the swing of things. And, you know, college football, especially in 2026, but it seems like it's been this way at least for the past few years. It's not necessarily an August to January sport. Something's always going on. Obviously, the season itself is longer. Then you got transfer portal windows. You still have signing day. And then there's the NFL draft that you can talk about. There's stuff in the summer with, all the media days. Obviously, there's spring, which, stretches, over a month and a half. And all these things that you can talk about. You just need somebody to take all that data, take everything and what's happening, and put it in a format like this to help you get through your day. Then you'll get it right here with College Football Y'all. Just subscribe. That way it automatically populates in your podcasting platform of choice. Always here all year long and into the season. Obviously, we'll do a lot more shows, a lot more podcasts when the season gets here, because obviously there's a lot more content. We got game breakdowns to do. We've got just a lot going on and a lot of content and a limited amount of time to do it. So I'm Brandon T, CFB on X and TikTok. Follow there as well if you want to see some fun. Obviously, on the YouTube channel, College Football Y'all, Brandon Taylor Sports, one of the two will get you going. So with all that out of the way, let's get to this NFL draft. And this year it's taking place in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, April 23rd through the 25th. So it's either about to happen, happening, or have already happened by the time you listen to this. One of those three things I guarantee you is the case. So let me just say for a second that I really love what the NFL's done the past 10 years or so of actually going to cities and having the draft in the cities instead of in New York City. They had it at Radio City Music Hall, and I'm sure there may have been other venues in New York. It was there for like 50 years, and they decided to, pick up shop and take it around the country. And just the economic boom and just the amount of people that show up from all over the country and all over the world that go to these cities across the country, wherever the draft is taking place, it's just amazing. It's phenomenal, and it just goes to show that the impact that the NFL has, and obviously the draft. It goes hand in hand with college football, because if no college football, there would be no NFL draft. There's no NFL draft. There's no NFL. So these two things go hand in hand, and us college football fans and the NFL fans, that are kind of, it has a little bit of exclusivity. Look, I follow the NFL a lot. I am deep into fantasy football and all those things, but I just put more of my focus, at least in my brain, to college football. But there are people like me on the other side that are NFL fans that follow that sport religiously. We can just put our hand on each other's shoulders, and as we walk through these next few days, and just really enjoy it. And this year, no kind of controversy. The unanimous first overall pick is going to be Fernando Mendoza, and we've known that for a while now. Now, the team that he's going to go to, changed slightly. We were pretty sure that Fernando Mendoza was going to go first overall since middle way through the season last year. Now, obviously, the Raiders hadn't finished last yet, so some of these things were still to be determined, but pretty darn sure, barring some major, crazy, wild thing happening, he's going to the Las Vegas Raiders. And honestly, as I evaluate this, and I think about what first overall picks have went to in the past, I'll highlight a few here in a moment, but I think this is a pretty darn good landing spot for the number one pick. And I know, it's one of those bittersweet things, and I don't know how most first overall picks feel about these things. You're going to get an insane amount of money, generational wealth that most of this world will never see, never feel, never touch, never smell. But man, a lot of times, 9 times out of 10, you're going to an absolute stinker. And your career may be shaky from the start. For the Las Vegas Raiders, man, they've got some puzzle pieces together, and they need one right puzzle piece to go from where they are now, which is at the bottom, to possibly a pretty good contender in that tough NFC West division. Now, here's one thing I do like about this, that not a lot of first overall pick quarterbacks are fortunate enough to have, and that's a veteran quarterback that's already there, that I would be shocked if he didn't start. Kirk Cousins, coming over from the Atlanta Falcons. He just got traded, so he's there, and I would expect him to be the starter for the 2026 season. But the fortunate thing for Mendoza is he has a chance to bond and learn behind this veteran and maybe slowly ease into play. I could see Mendoza getting some snaps this season, but Kirk Cousins is the starter, and I think that is one of the best things for a college quarterback. And I don't care, people talk about, well, these players are playing way, on into their mid-20s. Not Fernando Mendoza. And even so, even if a guy was playing, he was 25 years old, the level of play, even if you're playing at the top level of the Big Ten or the top level of the Southeastern Conference, man, you can't compare that to the NFL. Now, on the flip side, if there's NFL caliber talent at a college team like there is, at an Alabama or a Georgia or an Ohio State, for example, yeah, you have NFL caliber talent playing in college, but it's just different when you're playing at full speed in the pros, especially getting thrown to the wolves after having the season that they did, like being undefeated, winning the Heisman, winning the national championship, dominating all through the season, minus a few close calls here and there. Hey, this is a pretty good win for him, in my opinion. He has young weapons there, with more likely on the way. There's Ashton Genty and Brock Bowers that are there. Some young wide receivers, and the only hang up, and this is usually how it goes with these early first round picks, the offensive line leaves a lot to be desired. And I anticipate them picking up probably a guard and a tackle, maybe, in this draft, and they probably need more than that, but it couldn't be worse than what some other quarterbacks have dealt with in their first seasons. And I've got three right here that I'm highlighting, and that's Trevor Lawrence for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Remember, he went 3-14 in his first season there. And what is so striking about this is Trevor Lawrence lost 4 games total in his entire high school and his college career there at Clemson. 4 games in all those years of his life. And then he goes to the Jags, first overall pick in the draft, 3-14. Man, talk about like going from on top of the world to you're being humbled in just a few months' time. Another one is Bryce Young down there, Carolina Panthers. 2-15 his first season. Absolutely just crushed by opposing defenses. Now, I would be hard-pressed to believe that the Las Vegas Raiders have as bad of an offensive line as the offensive line that the Panthers have had the past few seasons. Look, hey, I could be proved wrong, but Bryce Young, in that first year with the Panthers, he had one of the worst quarterback ratings under pressure. Well, that's because he was under pressure all the time. So, understandable. Somebody like Bryce Young, a guy that played at Alabama under Nick Saban, and one of the guys, he still impresses me to this day when I go back and think about it. The man never felt pressure, never showed pressure, never, no sweat at all in any situation that he was under. His whole time at Alabama, just a very unique player. Nothing got to him. And he didn't show it in the pros either, that first season. But man, it was tough. And, another one, if we go back, 30 years almost, Peyton Manning, his first year at the Colts, man, he had 28 interceptions. Ended up winning 2 Super Bowls, many Pro Bowl appearances, went to 4 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl with 2 different teams. So, look, the first year it's going to be tough if you're the first round pick. I think this could be okay for Mendoza, but that's to be determined. And another one I want to talk about here for just a moment is Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame. In 2025, he had 199 attempts on 1,372 yards, 18 touchdowns, 6.7 yards per attempt, which is pretty darn good. I'm seeing a lot of trending towards the Giants, picking him up there with the 7th pick, I believe it is, in a supplement for Cam Scatterbo. And I like Cam Scatterbo. I picked him in my fantasy draft last year in my big dynasty league. And I did that because in my mind, and I'm a big fantasy football geek, because I was thinking touchdowns, short yardage, this big barrel that just busts through a defensive line and scores a touchdown. I assumed that would kind of be the kind of running back he is. Obviously, he had to do a lot more last season, which I didn't mind. He helped me out a lot. But for, real life here, the way I see it, Jeremiah gets the yards, Cam powers in for the first downs and the touchdowns. Extra help for Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart needs all the help he can get. And John Harbaugh is coming in here with a little bit of a chip on his shoulder after all those years of service and a Super Bowl victory with the Ravens. He's coming in here, and maybe he'll have a few tricks up his sleeve. I know that the toughest thing that a coach can do is win a Super Bowl with one team and then go to another team and win a Super Bowl there. I don't know that that's been done. I'm sure it has at some point in history, but I think Giants fans are excited. I support the Giants. I like the Giants. They're one of the teams that I've kept track of the past 20 years, and I really, I hope for the best for them. But this pick here can continue to get the organization back to some good graces and help wash the taste out of your mouth from the Saquon Barkley debacle that happened just a couple of years ago. So you get Cam Scatterbo last year, but this year, getting a top 10 running back, a pretty darn good one at that, I think would be good for the Giants. I think that's where he's going to land. Obviously, mock drafts, you can go look at one of any of them, and people have their opinions, and I think Love is Giants bound, and I think it's going to be good for him. I think it's going to be good for the organization as a whole. So another player that's on my radar for this draft is Ty Simpson from Alabama. First of all, I think he's very smart to go ahead and enter this draft class. He had big NIL opportunities. He had transfer portal opportunities. He could have went to Miami. He could have went to LSU. A lot of money was on the table. He decided that it was time now to jump into the draft and go ahead and move on to the next chapter. And I appreciate him for that, and I respect him for that. I really do. This was the perfect time to jump in because next year's class is going to be absolutely loaded, and this was a perfect time for him. And his first round likely. It's possible that he could fall to the second round, but I personally think that he's going to go in the first round. And what I'm seeing is possibly Steelers. Some people are saying Cardinals. Jets are also in the running for this, but I keep seeing another one, and that's the Los Angeles Rams. And that, to me, is a perfect pick for any quarterback that's played at a high level in college. That's the spot to go to. But before I talk about that, I'll talk about how the Steelers could also be a really good pick for an incoming quarterback from college. And, it starts with Aaron Rodgers. And that's if he stays. Aaron Rodgers is there, and he can be a great mentor to Ty Simpson. I don't know if the two have anything at all in common, but when we're talking about just football, there's a lot that can be learned there. Who else is there? You got DK Metcalf, Michael Pittman Jr., and there's all kinds of investment, into that organization now. Mike Tomlin's gone. That's the only hang up in this whole thing. But look, that's going to be all right. I think it's going to be all right. But more so than the Steelers, I think the Rams under Sean McVay is the perfect spot for a first or second round caliber quarterback. You can sit behind Matthew Stafford for a few seasons. You've got a big pool of talent. It's a hot market. And man, Sean McVay is he's a player's coach. And Matthew Stafford, I know he's got a year. He may have 2 years. Heck, he may have 3 years left to play. That's okay. You get the chance to sit behind a veteran like him that's played and, played a lot of years out there in Detroit and has played a lot of years there in Los Angeles. Won a Super Bowl, has been through a lot, and has a lot that can be taught, a lot that can be passed down to a young quarterback. You sit behind him for a couple years, he rides off into the sunset, and you're handed the keys to the kingdom. That right there could be the perfect landing spot for Ty Simpson, and I hope that he goes to one of those two places. I'm seeing a lot of buzz around the Cardinals. I don't like that. I don't like the Jets. That's just, for him personally, I don't think that's great. For those fans, heck yeah, man. Come on. But, the Steelers and the Rams are the way to go. I've also saw the Cleveland Browns. That's another dead-end spot for them. I'm sorry to any fans that may be listening, but it is what it is, and that is what it is, literally. And I hope by the time that you're hearing this, all this may have already taken place, and that's fine. I'll either look like a genius or an idiot. I'm going to probably sound like both all at the same time. So I kind of want to move on a little bit here to slightly different conversation here, but really still focused on the draft. And I'm going to ask myself this question. I've asked myself this question in years past. I'm asking it now, and I'm going to continue to ask it. Who will we miss on Saturdays? It would have been a no-brainer last year. Think about all the talent. Guys like Travis Hunter, Jackson Dart, Cam Scatterbo, just to name a few. But for this season, this draft, I'm going to default to the number 1 overall pick, Fernando Mendoza. And I think just his story alone could answer the question for me. He's got the incredible story with his mom and her issues, and just him and his light, his aura, the kind of light that radiates off of him. He's always smiling. He has that loving innocence to him that is it's not off-putting at all. And you really see the guy, and he seems so down to earth, and you just can't help but love him, and just so proud that he did what he did at Indiana, that he got a shot and went from not a whole lot of success, not really much of a future, to all of a sudden he's the Heisman winner, and he's going to be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. So that's a pretty quick answer there. But next season, man, there's going to be a lot of talent that I'm going to have to sift through when I ask myself this question in another year. Before we get to the last couple segments here, I just want to say thank you again for joining today on College Football Y'all, for listening on whatever platform that you're listening on. Again, I say, as I said before, subscribe to the podcast feed if you want to hear more. We got content that's going to be going on throughout the spring, the summer, and obviously into the fall. So keep it here for College Football Y'all, and keep a lookout on the YouTube page as well for video versions of this podcast and other content, as well as Brandon T. CFB on X and TikTok for a lot of exclusive content there as well. Appreciate everyone out there taking the time out of their day to listen. I hope I'm helping you get through your day, whatever the day may bring for you. So, as I mentioned at the top of the program, there's some SEC quarterback battles, and the Alabama one intrigues me. It's Austin Mack. It's the Washington transfer, the redshirt junior that has followed Kalen DeBoer from his former employer that's been with him since he was there. He sat behind Michael Penix Jr. there at Washington. He's obviously sat behind Ty Simpson there at Alabama. And he's got a lot of potential. I mean, he's a good player. But on the other hand, Keelan Russell, 5-star dual-threat quarterback, the redshirt freshman entering his second season with the Tide. He's pretty good guy. He had a phenomenal high school career there in Texas. But with that being said, one may assume that Austin Mack gets the nod just because he's the veteran there, and it's time for him to get his shot. But, Russell showed some incredible progress this spring, both in the practices and in the spring game itself. He threw like 5 touchdowns in Alabama's spring game. But how it usually goes, the quarterback battle is not going to be won or lost in the spring. It's usually going to go on through the summer, and it's going to be determined in preseason camp. Now, last year was an outlier. Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb all but confirmed Ty Simpson as the Alabama starting quarterback last spring. He's not going to be so quick. He already said this. He's not going to be so quick to jump to conclusions this year, and I don't blame him there. This will go on, but if I could put some money on it, I would probably say Austin Mack gets the nod and he's the starter for the Crimson Tide in 2026. But it's just so hard because Keelan Russell has really shortened that gap. A lot can happen between now and the season. I understand that. And there's quite frankly a lot riding on this decision by Kalen DeBoer. You make the wrong decision here. The wrong quarterback gets put in the position. I mean, the margin for error in the SEC is already pretty thin. You go into 9 conference games, the playoff is still at 12. You can't be losing that many games. You have 1 loss, maybe 2 if the cards fall just right. And having the wrong quarterback in there, it could cost you a playoff spot. The other thing is, if you don't start Keelan Russell, does he pack his things and go on and get in the transfer portal and go somewhere that's going to start him? That's another thing you got to think about. It's the things that coaches have to juggle now, in this modern era. But I don't feel sorry for him. Never feel sorry for a college football coach that makes millions and millions of dollars. Even the coordinators are making millions of dollars. I have a little bit more sympathy for them, but head coaches, you're getting paid, some of them $10 million or more. I don't feel sorry for you. But also around the SEC, you've got a quarterback battle between 3 guys at Tennessee. You got a battle at Arkansas, and there's some questions at some other places like Florida. Those aren't as interesting to me, but the Alabama one is really something that I'm going to keep my eye on as time goes on. And obviously, there's a lot of quarterbacks that are firmly planted where they are. Obviously, Trinidad Chambliss. You got Gunnar Stockton, Sam Levitt at LSU. What about him? What's Lane Kiffin's offense going to look like down there in Baton Rouge? We got a lot of time to talk about that, and today is not the day. 6 coaches entering year 1, and a whole lot of new assistants. We got a lot to look forward to this season. A lot of storylines to keep track of. The trolling has already begun for Lane Kiffin, but if you know Lane Kiffin, you know that the trolling never stops. So it's going to be an ugly season for some fans, for some people, and I'm really excited to find out the answers to the questions that we have now, and to really see what everything looks like, how everything's going to unfold. All these new changes in the Southeastern Conference, it's exciting. So keep a lock here, college football, y'all. Stay tuned because I've got in the coming days and months after the draft is over here, I want to dig deep into some coaching things, some questions that I have when it comes to that. Obviously, preseason expectations. The ESPN SP Plus just got released a few weeks back. I want to dig into that. All 138 teams from 1 to 138 is on that list. Kind of evaluate that. A lot of way too early top 25s are coming out. There's so many things to talk about and so many things that I want you to hear from me, Brandon Taylor, right here for College Football, y'all. So stay tuned. Keep a lookout for the feed for the podcast, for the big new circle icon that we got here. College Football, the fancy new coin, I'm calling it. So my name's Brandon Taylor. Like I said, keep a lookout for me here. We'll see you in the next one. Enjoy the NFL draft. Peace.